Joining us now in the studio, Andrea Sanders, the Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services, CPS for short. It's normally how we refer to that. Thanks for joining us today, Andrea.
Thank you, Gerard.
So, wanted to have you on to get an update from your perspective on the agency. Now, is it part of DHS or does it operate as a separate entity?
That is a really interesting question. Both.
Okay.
It originally was a division of DHS.
Yeah.
Until 2016. Mississippi agreed in a lawsuit to separate the agency and create a freestanding agency to bring emphasis to the work that's done. It's pretty unique work, as you know.
Yep.
And so we have been separated in some capacity for the last 5 years. There was some confusion over federal funding streams and how that impacted the agency. And so at the current moment, we are joined in statute as sort of we're related agencies.
Okay.
The terminology is in but not of. So,
yeah. And the agency receives funding from both the federal government and state government, right?
That's correct. We do.
How's that allocated?
Approximately half of our funding comes from the state. The federal funding streams for child welfare are, in my opinion, they need to be updated. We have to determine eligibility for children that we take from their parents based on their parents' income, which is a peculiar position to be in. As you can imagine, it's difficult to go back to parents and ask for proof of income after taking their children out of their home.
So what are the typical cases that your group works with?
Unfortunately, there's outright abuse. We generally, reporters will call and, they have concerns because of bruising on children, or often a child will show up at school wearing either really inappropriate clothing for the time of year. And it can be, you think of children not having warm clothing in wintertime. That's usually a problem with neglect or possibly poverty, which is a little bit different than a parenting issue. But in the summertime, when you see children show up at school in the heat wearing, a hoodie and clothing that covers their body, that's often a source of concern, and so teachers might call and say, they may notice bruising on children's arms that's just repetitive, and or often you can see old bruising that those are warning signs.
So if the agency receives reports such as that, you've got workers on the front lines then that would investigate. Is that right?
We do. We have a 24-hour hotline call center that's manned, and in fact, we just had a big hurricane threat come through the state, and so we try to staff up during those times to make sure that not only for reports of abuse, but we had the whole coast potentially looking at being without power or phone lines. So that call center is kind of a hub for us. But yes, we go out and investigate within 24 hours for certain types of reports. If there is imminent concern, there's a little bit more time if the concern is triaged to be a less acute problem.
And you also have the situations where children are just lose their parents. I mean, that happens as well.
Yes. We're in the middle of a pandemic that's unlike anything, any of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. And so, death rates are much higher for a variety of reasons. And so, yes, children lose their parents. And we're really struggling right now with, we've seen often there's an increase in drug abuse and addiction. that makes parents unable to take care for their children.
Yeah.
And, we're experiencing a lot of social stressors right now that impact children in Mississippi.
How many children are in your care now?
Right now we have approximately, we have 3,750 actually at this minute. And that number's held pretty steady for the last couple of years. The last time we talked, I think we talked about concerns that we would see reports escalate as children got back into school. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're seeing normal situations yet. Schools have resumed and then had to go virtual, and then, so there are a lot of distractions happening right now. We have not seen a tremendous spike in reporting, or it's certainly not something that's consistent.
How many workers do you have on the front lines?
We have about 460 right now. We really need to gain about 100 total.
100, okay.
Turnover is very high in this work. And we are intentionally looking at ways that the agency can reduce that turnover.
Is there sort of an optimum ratio of worker to children?
There is. We have a formula.
Okay.
And investigations take up more time than, say, monitoring children in their own home when there was a concern about neglect. So the formula rate, it weights the type of work. But ideally, workers need to have somewhere between 14 and 17 cases that are active.
Yes.
And so we've been successful in achieving that in some parts of the state. We really struggle in other parts.
And so when you receive a child, take them into care, you try to place them in a foster home. Is that right? Is that
We have a strong preference for family-based settings, yes.
Okay.
A relative or someone who's known to the child in their own community, in their same school that they were already attending, that can take all of their siblings is ideal. Mm-hmm. But, we don't always have the ideal setting for children when we take them. Obviously it's not a planned thing. So there are times when we have to take to other parts of the state. Hopefully our strong preference is to keep sibling groups together if we can't keep them in their own community.
How does one become a foster parent? What are the criteria there?
They need to be 21 or older, and they need to be financially self-sufficient. And the reason for that is there's subsidized care. There are subsidies provided to families who foster to help offset the cost, but we want families who are fostering because they want to foster.
Sure.
And so, it's a pretty unique ask to take someone else's child into your home or children, love them like they're your own, and then be willing to potentially give them back. So it is to me, one of the ultimate asks from a family to open their home. We have information on our website, www.mdcps.ms.gov, for becoming a foster parent. I'll have to put these readers on to give you the...
I got it. 1-800. Yeah, 1-800-821-9157. 800-821-9157. And then there's also a number to report child abuse, which is 800-222-8000. 800-222-8000. Or you can, again, go to the Department of Child Protective Services .ms.gov website. Do you get lots of phone calls and emails with respect to reports?
We do, yes. And, I even get people who know me text me.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Email me when they have concerns.
Gosh.
But they need to go through the hotline because it allows us to document the call and also follow a prescribed triage.
Yeah. Wow. And there's also money. We got just about a minute here. It's pandemic relief funds that were appropriated as well. Current and foster former foster youth aged 14 to 26 who have spent at least one day in foster care after their 14th birthday are eligible, right?
That's correct.
Check your website for information on that as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, Andrea, appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for the work you guys do.
Well, appreciate you having me.
We'll be right